Welcome to another weekly featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact and your host, James Moffat, where he will gracefully take our featured guest on a personal and business journey and stories that will inspire, educate, and engage you.
Today, we have a special guest. He's going to introduce himself in a minute. Our 170th guest. So, John, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much, James. I sure appreciate this.
So, just for the audience, where are you living now and where you're originally from?
Okay, well, I'm living now in San Antonio, Texas, in the United States. Originally born in Fort Worth, about 250 miles from here. But I've done a lot of traveling throughout the world in my job. And so I'm world traveler in a sense, 2 or 3 weeks at a time, several job sites all over Europe, Africa, South America too.
Right. So we're going to come on to that shortly about why you traveled extensively throughout the world. But before we go there, let's just take you kind of down memory lane a little bit and just go back to your childhood. So, yeah, you have siblings?
I have one older brother and well, I'll tell you a little bit about my family. Both my mother and father were Catholic and they're deceased. My brother has 3 children. I have 2 daughters that are grown right now. They're both looking for a job. So if somebody knows of a job in San Antonio, let me know.
Well, if they can do something online, then maybe there's jobs everywhere.
Yeah, they would both be qualified to do that.
Right. Okay. It'd be interesting knowing what they're actually looking for and see if we can help also. So, growing up as a kid, then, because Texas is a huge place, and when people think of Texas as one of the states in the US, then they have no perception on how big it really is. But when a lot of conversations about it, people say, oh yeah, you could fit kind of this size of Europe into Texas. And it's just kind of mind-blowing how big Texas really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually when we travel, we don't talk about miles. We talk about how many hours it takes to get somewhere. It's about a 4-hour drive to Houston, a 5-hour drive to Fort Worth, probably a all-day drive to El Paso, and the same thing to Amarillo. It'll take you about a day to get there.
Yeah, impressive. So let's just talk about growing up as a kid. So typically, I mean, when you were at school, kind of ambitions and aspirations in life, what did you want to do?
Well, that's kind of interesting. I didn't really have anything specific until I got into high school. And there I took a chemistry class and fell in love with chemistry. And then the next year I took a physics class and fell in love with physics and decided that physics would be my major in college. Got my degree in physics and it's absolutely useless unless you want to teach high school, at least at a bachelor's level. And so spent some time working in a machine shop after graduating from college, and finally found about an opening in Idaho, working at the Naval Reactors Facility, and that's where they train naval officers how to run a nuclear-powered submarine or aircraft. They have real reactors out in the desert of Idaho, and they put you through a 6-month training program to learn everything you ever wanted to know about nuclear engineering. And then they put you in what they call in-hull. They put you inside the prototype and train you how to run the reactor and run all the systems that support the reactor or support a submarine, the one I was on. And so after that, I spent time training naval officers how to run the nuclear power plant.
So did you have to be a service member? I mean,
No, this was a contract through Westinghouse. And so I was a civilian, and my coworkers, but probably 90% of the people there were enlisted Navy personnel.
Wow. So a nice mix.
Yes.
So, I mean, when you first went in there, did you think, how did I get a job like this and to be trained up on this? Did you feel underqualified?
I had a lot of questions, but they assured me that they would train me in everything I needed to know to run the power plant, and it wouldn't be a problem. And sure enough, with their 6 months of 8 hours training a day and studying at night, I was able to pass the course and then pass the in-hull operational part of the training, and got my badge, which was really just a piece of paper. And they told me that it would be the equivalent of a master's in nuclear engineering, and they didn't emphasize the word emphasize practically or essentially, because nobody would recognize it as an official college degree.
But then once you had this and you'd work, did you go on the submarines as well?
No. Worked there for a couple of years, and then that was in Idaho, very cold and snowy, and so I wanted to move back to Texas, and applied at several of the reactors, one in Louisiana, one in Texas, one in Arkansas, and also applied at a company called Southwest Research Institute, and they were looking for a radiation safety professional. And I said, hey, I know about radiation, working around a reactor. And so I got hired there and worked there for 40 years, helping them in several ways. We had an inspection division that would inspect nuclear power plants using ultrasonics. And so I had to keep track of their radiation exposure and clean up their equipment once it got contaminated with radioactive material.
Wow.
And went to help.
I mean, sorry to interrupt. I mean, for health risks or anything, I mean, do you have a clean bill of health after all of that, or are you subjected to?
Yes.
Yeah.
The amount of radiation exposure I got from nature was probably about 10 to 20 times more than what I got working in Idaho or at Southwest Research. Okay. Natural radiation is all around us. That's one of the things I learned, and we have adapted to live in our natural radiation environment, and adding 10% more doesn't really hurt anything.
I think near a radio station, a telecoms tower or something, it's probably more damaging than working in there.
Actually, I had a professor that knew a lot about non-ionizing radiation, and he really said there's no harmful effects unless it basically cooks you like a microwave. But low-level exposures, they really have no evidence of any physical or any other damage to your body.
Okay. I just had a picture in my mind, actually. I was thinking of The Simpsons, Homer Simpson, when he worked in the nuclear reactor, and he pushes. I mean, you could push the wrong button. So you didn't think that when you were in there, like as this kind of newbie, and they're showing you everything, so just don't push that button.
Well, yeah, the training I had in the Navy was probably the best in the world, but Obviously, with some mistakes like 3 Mile Island, they were doing the wrong operation. Chernobyl, excuse me, they were doing the wrong operation and caused core meltdowns. The reactor in Japan, that was really not their fault. It was the tsunami that wiped out their capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are some risk, and yeah, you can do things wrong if you really work at it. And they really had to work at getting 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl to go off the rails and create such a big accident.
So in general, they're pretty safe.
Yes, they are. Even 3 Mile Island that melted half its core, the highest exposure was probably about maybe 5 times natural background levels for the year, and the general public should never have any effects from 3 Mile Island. It was very well contained. Chernobyl was not contained, and there may be some thyroid cancers down the road, but it's not going to be extremely devastating. Yes, it's an accident, and they did have people die that were trying to stop the nuclear reaction, or actually stop a fire that was a carbon based fire, and they just got overexposed way beyond what should be allowed. Mm-hmm. I think it was about 32 or so.
Okay, so kind of moving on from that, did this give you the opportunity then to travel, or did you have other jobs after that?
Well, my job at Southwest Research, I was the radiation safety officer, mm-hmm. and we worked with what are called high activity sealed sources. They're the kind of sources that are used in cancer therapy. To give you want to give the cancer a radiation dose that's lethal. And so when they first started with cancer therapy using radiation, they had small stainless steel encapsulated cobalt-60 that could irradiate somebody in a few minutes and give just the portion of their body a lethal dose to kill the cancer and not the whole person. And as they got into different means like accelerators to have a very pinpoint radiation source, they were getting rid of the cobalt-60 sources. And we had a hot cell, a cell with 4-foot thick concrete walls and a big 4-foot thick viewing window. And we started helping the Department of Energy round up these unused sources so they couldn't be used for terrorist purposes, to make a dirty bomb. If you exploded that source and spread the cobalt-60 everywhere, it would not be a good thing. It would be not a big radiation hazard spreading it out, but it would be a disaster to clean up. If you did it somewhere like in Wall Street or some populated area, people wouldn't die. They would just spend billions of dollars in cleanup. And so with the Department of Energy, we were bringing those sources into Southwest Research and making the world a better place. And I went to other countries to help them learn how to collect the sources safely, package them for disposal, and then dispose of them. So I went to China, Malaysia, Uruguay, South Africa, spent a lot of time there, Uganda, and some other places, and of course some conferences too that I got to go to or give presentations at. So my job allowed me to travel and meet a lot of people.
So it's good fun as well.
Oh yeah.
enabled you to see the world.
It did. It was very nice.
And I mean, because you were to do with safety and everything, you could see how other people behaved or the safety procedures that were used in other countries.
Right. Well, we all basically have the same technology for the 𝗙𝗘𝗔𝗧𝗨𝗥𝗘𝗗 cancer therapy units, and for other units, some of them used radioactive cesium to irradiate parts or small samples, and so it was a large variety of things. But you treat them all the same. You don't put them in your pocket for an hour, that's for sure, because that's not going to be good. It's happened to a few people. There was one where an individual picked up a radiographer's source and put it in his back pocket. It had come loose, and he got a severe radiation burn on his butt, but didn't get a lethal dose. And he was sterile for a couple of years, but eventually had two normal children after some time. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit dangerous putting it in your back pocket and sitting down.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, just leaving it there for an hour or two is bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I bet you could tell a lot of stories about that and different things that happen. But anyway, that's not the purpose of what this call is about. So I want to move on to kind of what you're doing now, but in between that, so kind of where did you go next in your career, and how did you get to where you are now?
Ah, that's interesting. Well, I got to my career by having an interest in science, and then in radiation safety, you have to know the physics, how the radiation interacts with the body on a chemical level, and how the radiation acts on a biological level. So you got physics, chemistry, and biology, and you get a good appreciation for all of those. And while I was doing this work, got married, had two children, and I was kind of probably a lukewarm atheist at the time. And didn't attend church. I had been raised a Catholic, but and my wife, when we married, she convinced me to become a Methodist, and we decided to send our two daughters to a religious school, a Christian school, and so they had to study the Bible, and so I wanted to help them with their studies. And so when they came home, I started looking at the Bible and reading it and studying it with them. And the more I looked at the Bible, the more I found things that just didn't make sense, in the sense that there were contradictions in the Bible. And so that kind of made
Could I
me...
sorry, could I just ask a question? When you say the Bible, because we've got kind of the Old Testament, the New Testament, and we've got different versions of the Bibles. I mean, is there a particular one that is used that is like kind of the standard one that most people follow, or is it dependent?
Well, that's interesting. The more I researched the Bible, I went online, and there's an online site that has 30 different translations of the Bible. And so you can, you read a passage, and let's say it's, the commandment, thou shalt not kill.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you read it 30 different times, and they all say the same thing. And I found the translation of the Bible into English is really the same, regardless of which one you pick. You could pick the International Version or the King James Version or the New King James Version. It didn't matter. They all say the same thing using synonyms, so to speak. They may call someone a sinner or a degenerate, or it's all the same. And that is very comforting that, for thousands of years, we've had these words written down that are scriptures. And it's nice to know that the people that go to translate them into English, that they're all doing the same job quite well, in my opinion.
Okay. So, I mean, you've later to become kind of an expert in the Bible. But before we get there, let's just carry on that story. So you sent your daughters off to a religious school and you were helping them with the Bible. And I mean, for someone that you said you were an atheist before, having started to read when I guess they're reading and to try and help them out, it was just as much a learning for you as it was for them.
Yeah, there's an old joke that Catholics never read the Bible, and it's pretty true. And when I did start reading the Bible, I found contradictions, and that really rubs a lot of people the wrong way to say the Bible contradicts itself, because they want to believe that every word in the Bible is the perfect word of God.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, if two things contradict each other, both can't be true. That's it's Aristotle's principle of non-contradiction.
Mm-hmm.
And as a scientist, I felt, well, you can't say don't kill somebody one place and then say, oh, let's stone adulterers to death, or let's stone disobedient children to death. And it just didn't make sense to me on a logical level. And I kind of think I'm a logical person. And so my first thought, which is at the time, was, well, I'll just list all these contradictions and say what a bunch of baloney this Bible is. And after I did some more research, I found there are several authors that have written books all about this. One is Professor and Dr. Bert Ehrman, Ehrman, and he points out all these contradictions. And I thought, well, okay, I don't need to write that book. But I started thinking, well, where is the Bible consistent? Instead of contradicting itself, what is consistent from the beginning to the end of the Bible? And now this was over a 30-year process, 25 years before I wrote my first book, and then another 5 additional years that I've been working on not just the Bible, but the Quran also, and not looking for contradictions, but looking for what's consistent in the Bible. And that's what excited me about writing my first book, The Bible's Hidden Treasure, James, the Precious Pearl. And if you're familiar with the parable of the pearl, somebody finds a precious pearl and wants to buy it, so he sells everything he has and buys that one pearl so that he can have that. And that's the same thing with the hidden treasure, a parable of a hidden treasure. Somebody learns about a buried treasure in a field and spends all his money to buy that field and go dig up the treasure. Well, I found the epistle, or the book of James, to be that pearl or treasure that's consistent from the beginning of the Bible to the end of the Bible. And it's very clear. It's one of the books that's more simply written, and often people call it kind of the mechanics version of the Bible. It tells you what you're supposed to do and not do, and it's written simply, and so that's why I wrote my first book. And then I started researching the Quran and decided, hey, there's a lot of consistent information that's in the Quran that's in James. Well, why can't we have all three religions, the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims, follow the same teachings that are in our scriptures. And so that brings me to why I wanted to talk to you today and tell you about my second book.
Right. It's so fascinating because anyone that wants to kind of understand the Bible or religion in particular, then if you've not been exposed to it as a child or with your family growing up or through school, then where do you start? And often most people don't start because they'll scratch their head thinking, well, is there a simplistic kind of intro into what I should read to make a decision on which way I go? And because there's kind of none of that, you kind of, well, follow Judaism, I mean, you also didn't mention Hinduism and Buddhism and other things. I mean, there's so many religions. Even within Christianity, there's so many different variations that, I mean, any kind of lay person is lost thinking, well, that it would take me a lifetime just to try and understand all the different religions, let alone kind of know which one is the best one to follow. And I mean, like, as you said, you spent 25 years doing this, and I guess there's still so much more out there that you haven't learned about.
Oh, yeah, there is. But I try and simplify things. And actually, with all my research, I found out you only need to know four things.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one is love God. The second one is love your neighbor. Third one is do good. And four is resist evil. Some people miss that one, but that sums up just about every religion. Some may say, well, love God's, but I'm definitely, I'm absolutely a Christian, and I believe there's only one God. And he came to earth incarnate in flesh as Jesus, and then left. And there's a lot of, you talked about different cults or sects that are in religion. Well, what causes people to have these different viewpoints on religion? Well, it's our scriptures. You have scriptures that talk about handling snakes and being immune to the bites. And so you have these snake handling cults. Well, another part of the Bible says you aren't supposed to test God by jumping off a cliff or handling poisonous snakes. And so I believe the snake handling cults are goofy because they don't really rationalize or use a logical approach to what's in the scriptures. There's also Mormons that I'm very familiar with because I lived among them for 2 years up in Idaho. And they have some goofy ideas. And the thing is, where do we get our goofy ideas about religion? Well, it's the scriptures. If you went and asked a Jewish person what they thought of the scriptures, well, they'd say, oh, I don't believe in the New Testament. It's wrong. If you ask a Christian, well, Jesus changed everything in the New Testament, and so the Jews aren't doing it right. You ask a Muslim, what do they think about the Bible? Oh, and they'll tell you, oh, it's so corrupt and it's wrong. You ask Jews and Christians about the Quran, and they'll tell you, oh, it's pure fantasy. Well, the thing is, they're half right, but only half right. There's good messages in all of our scriptures, but there's also some bad, or I call them goofy, scriptures. And the thing is, way back when I started looking at the contradictions in the Bible, there have been other authors, and I could list them. Bart Ehrman is one of them, a professor. They blame God for allowing contradictions or errors, and I call them lies, in the Bible. But the thing is, God could allow those things in the Bible, and I can talk about why he does that. It's a test for us to filter out the good news from the lies in our scriptures. And so everybody's going to agree there's lies in the other guy's scriptures. Well, why aren't there lies in all of our scriptures? And God allowed that for a test, and I can go into why that makes sense if you want me to.
Yeah, I just want to kind of ask some other questions as well. So just going back a bit, so your two daughters, I mean, how did it end up with them with religion? I mean, are they still religious? Do they practice and follow, or did they kind of what happened?
No, wait, not who again?
Yeah, your daughters, I mean, after they went to a religious.
Well, yeah, they're Christians. They're actually kind of non-practicing, although my oldest daughter, who's 36, is starting to listen to a televangelist, a preacher on TV. And my daughter, my youngest daughter, she's kind of lukewarm on religion right now, but they both say they're Christians.
And your wife now, because she suggested that with the religion and everything.
Oh, she's definitely a Christian, and she puts up with my trying to discuss religion with her, but she doesn't really get into it. It's like most people in this world, or in America, maybe they say, don't talk about politics or religion. And she didn't talk about religion much, yeah.
So kind of, I mean, the science, the nuclear, the experience, the travel, and what was it that kind of triggered that you wanted to learn more? Was it the fact that your daughters went to this religious school, or was it something nagging inside you that felt that I need to understand religion more for my own peace of mind? And then once you started learning, then you started to compare and looking at the differences between that and the Quran and others.
Well, my scientific background, or my scientific mind, wanted religion to make sense. I wanted it to be logical, because if there's a God has to be perfectly logical and make perfect sense all the time. He can't go changing the rules from one day to the next. You couldn't trust a God that changes the rules, and the rules that I mentioned about not killing, or versus stoning a sinner to death, they didn't make sense. And I wanted to trust a God that was logical and never contradicted himself. And to do that, I had to dig deep, and finally found it in the book of James.
So, yeah, I mean, you talk about in particular, which also reminded me, growing up as a kid in the UK, I was watching Monty Python movies, and particularly Monty Python and The Life of Brian. Yeah. And it was actually banned because they said it was depicting Jesus and it was blasphemy. And then they said, no. They said, if you want to associate Brian with Jesus, that's up to you. But Brian is Brian, right? But anyway, it was definitely entertaining to watch because, I mean, there was a lot in there that made you question religion and think it, yeah, if particularly in the stoning, because they had a scene in there where you could buy like a bag of stones and you could do some stoning. And if someone actually mentions Jehovah, and then stone him, stone him. And I said, but it was only the men are allowed to stone, not the women. And then it was women dressed up with men with false beards, and then they said, any women here? And then, oh no, stone them, right? Or her or whatever. And yeah, I mean, it took religion to a different extent in the way that it didn't ridicule it; it just made you think about about exactly what you've said. I mean, people have been committed and tried and imprisoned for things that they didn't do. So, yeah, and then later found out they were innocent and they found the wrong person. So, I mean, imagine like being stoned to death for something that you didn't do. So, I mean, yeah, it just seemed that stoning seems very barbaric, and yet in some religions it's not frowned upon, it's welcomed, and others will say no, that's a barbaric religion that can even contemplate that. So I mean, I know you mentioned that, but also in your four things, I mean, it's all about loving thy neighbor and not killing. And yeah, whether someone says something or that's right or wrong, I mean, who are they to then decide? I mean, which kind of goes round in a full circle or to the law courts when you put your hand on the Bible. I just wonder, what Bible do you put your hand on when you swear an oath?
Yeah. Well, actually, James says not to swear an oath on God or anything. Just let your yes be yes and your no be no, and not swear. So there's a lot of good points in James. We could. Let me tell you a little bit why I think God allowed lies in the Bible, and that really makes a lot of people mad when you say there are lies in our scriptures. If you read the book of Job. It's a very long book, but it has some great lessons. And let's start out with how Job was tested. Well, Satan was in heaven at a council meeting, I guess, and God brought up Job's name. And then Satan said, well, I can test Job and he'll curse you to your face, God. And God said, no, he won't. And so they had kind of this bet going on. And so Satan tested Job three ways. And the last way that Satan tested Job is forgotten. The first way he tested him was he had all his children killed and took away all his farm animals and killed all his ranch workers, ranch hands. And so he took every possession that Job had away from him, including his children. And then that didn't work. Job still didn't curse God. And so Satan tested him again, got permission from God to test him more. And he gave him ill health, horrible diseases, close to the point of death. I mean, Job was suffering. And I can't even imagine how bad he suffered physically. But then there was a third test that very few people pay attention to. And what happened is he had Job's friends, 3 old men and 1 young man, come and lie to Job about God. And it says this, and when people ask me, well, do you have proof that there's lies in the Bible? And I said, yeah. And this is one of the verses I can quote. I don't quote many, but Job 42:7, God says, hey, Elisha, you and your friends lied about me, about God. And so there are lies in the Bible about God because the Bible says there are lies in the Bible about God. And so the third test of Job, by having people lie to him, was another test. And Job didn't fail again. He didn't curse God. And so Job passed the test, and God was happy, and Satan was defeated, so to speak. And God restored Job, and had children after that. But God was happy, and God proved that Satan was wrong. So the point is, God allowed Job to be tested by people lying to him. And it makes good sense to me that he would allow everyone to be tested by allowing Satan to tell lies about us. He allows us to suffer. God allows us to suffer. God allows us to lose our children and lose our possessions. God allows these things, and they could be considered a test. And he could allow us to be lied to in the scriptures as a test. And what James says about suffering, one of the big questions is, why would God allow suffering? And several of the people that condemn the Bible as being inaccurate, one of the reasons they cite is a loving God would not allow us to suffer. Well, God allowed Job to suffer, and he allows us to suffer so that we can become perseverant and mature. And that's kind of a summary of what's in James. God allows us to suffer so that we are perseverant like Job was, and we become more mature and know the difference between the truth and lies.
Right. So I have a few questions. So yeah, kind of these are my questions. I've always had it like in the back of my mind. But when you mention Satan, right? So Satan comes in many disguises and many names. So, I mean, who to you is Satan? I mean, because originally Satan, or whoever we believe is Satan, was never a bad person. They just had an argument and a discussion, a disagreement with God, and was banished out of heaven.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there were angels before people were created. And some of those angels, including Satan, rebelled against God and thought they were as good as or better than God. And that's demonstrated in the story of Job, where Satan says, well, I know I can turn Job away from you. I know more than you do, God. And so I just call them demons. But fallen angels might be another term you want to use. And so their goal in life, or their goal is to turn people away from God. I think they were honestly jealous that God created humans. Angels are kind of the way the Quran describes it is they're just pure energy, no physical being like we have a physical being. And so, and it's beyond my comprehension how that could be, how they could have rational thoughts or whatever. But, every religion seems to indicate there are these spirits or angels out there that we deal with. And I think that's supported by the fact that we have a soul. Can't prove that, but I believe we do have a soul because we're set apart from the animals. And so yeah, they're practicing their deceit, evil, trying to get us to be evil like them, because they think they're better than us.
So do you think with all the, because just going back to what you said before, people will question, well, why are there all these atrocities and genocide and wars and famine and everything else happening here? If we have a loving God, then why is this allowed? So, I mean, your view on that is welcome.
Well, yeah, there's two reasons. Yeah, God allows it because He gave us free will. Early on in the Bible, it says we were made in His image. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean our physical bodies, it means our soul or our spirit. And to be in His image, we have to have free will. We're not puppets that are predestined. That's one of the things I'm very much against. To just be little puppets that God is dancing around. And the one of the big arguments against predestination, not to get off the track too much, is that if God predestined everything, we have no control, no say in the matter. He would control some people to do evil acts, because you can't deny that people have been evil since the beginning of time, almost, or beginning of humans. Now, maybe since the beginning of time with angels. Some of them are evil. And God allows that because He wants us to, He gives us free will. And so we're not predestined. And I hope I haven't strayed too far here from your question about why God allows suffering and bad people. And it's because He made us in His image to have free will.
Right. No, I agree with that. I mean, I believe in kind of duality. I mean, we have the choice. I mean, we have our duality and our ego that is pushing us sometimes to do things that we don't particularly want to do, but our ego is talking, and our ego is saying, you want to be this, that, and the other. And then kind of the other part of you is saying, no, I don't. I want to be whatever. And depending on the influence around you, then it's which way you tend to go. So you need your free will to decide for yourself and not be coerced into doing something that wouldn't be in your nature, or wouldn't be, maybe, like you said, godly.
Right.
And because if we're godly, then we practice that, as you said, that to keep the commandments and to be a godly person. But once we start breaching that, then is it because we have that free will, we have that duality, and we have that ego that's pushing us one way, and we're kind of fighting ourselves with this internal battle, like between good and bad, and how much has been influenced that's going to lure us into kind of the wrong side. But at the end of the day, it's our choice.
Yeah. I think we have two sources of sinning or being evil, and one of them is we're tempted by demons, and the other is we're tempted by our own ego, our own lusts, our own desires to have it our way, instead of allowing others to have consideration, to loving others. If we love ourselves only, we're totally selfish, and that's not good.
Yeah, when you mentioned earlier about kind of four things, and one was loving thy neighbor, and I mean, neighbor also in relation to kind of the work environment. So it's like your colleague as well. So, I mean, I've grown up in sales and marketing and international companies and corporate organizations, and traveling, and I found that particularly in sales that you're pushed to chase a title, and that you're pushed to make money for the shareholders, and dangling the carrot. Oh, you'll earn a good bonus, and if you do it, so there's kind of that, and it's not until years later. All right, you've made some money and you've been successful, but you look back and think, is that the purpose? Is that the reason for being? Is that why I'm here? And it was my ego at the time. I was chasing, I want to be the sales guy. I want to be head of sales. I want to be the vice president of sales. I want this. And then once I got the titles, once you've lost it, did it really matter anyway? And I feel more content that the fact that I've experienced that, but I look back and reflect that, all right, there was good times as well. But was that really the reason for being? And chasing kind of the dream, which was a materialistic dream rather than something that was more meaningful and purposeful, which then made me realize that we're here for three fundamental reasons. So, number one, we're here to learn.
Yes.
Number two, we're here to serve humanity. And three, we're here to preserve humanity.
Yes.
So that's it, period.
Yeah.
And that's what I've come to realize after many years of kind of soul searching and looking for the answers, that's what it is. But how you do that and what you do to serve others is obviously with the gifts that you have, or the gifts that you don't know you have. Mm-hmm. You're yet to find out.
Yeah. As you know, I'm saying James is a precious pearl, and one of the things that he says about materialism is that friendship with the earth, or friendship with the physical things in this world, makes you an enemy of God, which is kind of a profound statement. The last thing anybody wants to do is be an enemy of God. You can't have a worse enemy than that, or more powerful, maybe a better way to say it. And so if you do only pursue physical pleasures, wealth, power, or having the finest clothes or houses or cars or whatever, you're ignoring God, and that makes you his enemy. You have to love him first. That's why I always was steps first, and then love your neighbor, and of course that includes your family, and then do good. You can't, if you love God and your neighbor, you will do good. You'll make that decision. And then you have to resist evil. And that's kind of why I've gone into both my first book and this second book to say, well, let's identify what's evil and let's stop doing it. It may be stoning people to death. The Muslims still believe in stoning adulterers. It's not in their Quran, but it's in their other documents that say to do that. And it's interesting. The Jews, they don't stone adulterers to death anymore, although it's written in the Old Testament to do that. And so, that's the last thing is what you're talking about, is resisting evil. So that everybody does good. One of the things that I believe will happen is if we follow these four principles, which are explained in detail in James, we'll have God's kingdom on earth. We'll have peace on earth. Boy, it could be a beauty contestant and answer, yeah, I want peace on earth. Well, yeah, we can have that if we follow those four principles. And then the better thing, I guess, maybe equal, is the individual will have life eternal in heaven by doing those four things. And so, yeah, that my two goals in my books are, one, let's have God's kingdom on earth. That's in the Lord's Prayer. And then what does everybody want? Well, everybody wants to go to heaven. Certainly don't want to go to hell. And so it's important that everybody learns the truth that we need to know to have those two things happen.
Yeah, just a question. I mean, over the last few years, I mean, there's been a lot of changes. I mean, globally, we've seen quite, I mean, a number of things that are being pushed, and with the governments, with kind of more of a dystopian, tyrannical kind of experience in countries where we've been forced to do things, removing sovereignty and everything else. Do you think a lot more people have turned to the Bible now as a way of, well, what else can I do? And if I want savior, then I need to start to practice something that's better than, at least if I do that, then I'm doing something good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they can turn to the Bible, but the Bible can mislead some people. You know, we have the snake handling cults. You know, you have religions that say, oh, if you're only baptized in water, you're going to go straight to heaven. Another pet peeve of mine, which really rubs Christians the wrong way, is that they say, well, Christ died for my sins and died for the sins of the world. I mean, that's kind of quoting what's in the New Testament. And I think that's a trap, that we have to take personal responsibility for our sins and certainly confess them, or, you know, and say, I'm going to sin no more, and repent of our sins. And saying that Christ died for our sins is, I think it's abominable, because they tortured him, they nailed him to a cross, he died, and anybody that says, that sacrifice gave me eternal life in heaven. Well, if they were back in biblical times, and, you know, Pontius Pilate brought out Barabbas and Jesus, and he said, who do you want to be crucified? And everybody says, free Barabbas, crucify Jesus. Well, they were terrible people. And those that think the torture and murder of Jesus makes them a better person, I think they've got the wrong idea. And that's one of the things that actually James spells out in one of his verses, two of his verses, that you're living in luxury, thinking that the murder of the innocent one, which is Jesus, is going to save your soul. It's a luxury that is going to condemn you to hell, is what it is. And that's out of James. And it's a passage that people don't read very much.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Do you think then, I mean, I was always thinking that when people wear a cross, I didn't think anything of it as I was growing up as a kid. I thought people wearing a cross, yeah, I knew that they were Christian or Catholic, right? But now, particularly when I see them with pictures of Jesus on the cross, I think, why would you do that? And people say, yeah, it's to remember the pain that he went through for us. But I don't know. I look at it in a different way. I think that if you're wearing that, isn't it a mockery as well? Because I say that because if I looked at when the English fought the French, I mean, a long, long time ago, and they had the archers firing arrows, right? The reason why they stick their finger up, right, and is now seen as an insult is
Yeah.
because they still have their finger to pull the string on the longbow, right?
Ah,
Right. And so when they were sticking their finger up, it was like finger up the air in the air to you to show I've still got it. Because when
yeah.
they were captured by the French, they chopped off the longbow finger.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the reason for doing it. So it was an insult. So when I'm like when someone is doing that, it is kind of an insult. So by showing a cross with Jesus on it, to me, it's kind of the same. It's showing that like, he's died on the cross, and I want to remember him for all the good that he did, not for him dying on a cross, which, like, as you said, it was an atrocity.
Yeah.
So why would I want to wear something to remember that? Although, I mean, as I said, other people argue the fact that, yeah, isn't it as a respect to show the suffering he went through for us? So just like kind of your opinion on it, because I don't wear any jewelry anyway. But the last thing I would do is wear that because to me, it means something different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the generally the Catholics that have Jesus on a cross. I
Mm-hmm.
have Catholic friends, and yeah, they have Jesus on a cross in their house. And Protestants, when they broke away from the Catholic Church, they took Jesus off the cross. They said, "Hey, Jesus isn't on the cross anymore. He was buried and rose again." So the cross is a symbol um, of without him on it is a symbol of his resurrection. And certainly, I believe in Jesus and his resurrection, um, mainly because James says it. But there are also many other books that go into the legitimacy of Christ and his resurrection. I think I forgot the name of the author, but the Case for Christ uh, that talks about how historical documents validate what's in the New Testament about his death and resurrection. And so, yeah, I'm a Christian, and yeah, it is to me it's offensive, but because it's so traditional for Catholics to have Jesus on the cross, I don't really say anything to them. It doesn't hurt. It's just a symbol. I mean, come on, you know. It has no value for bringing peace on earth or getting you to heaven.
Yeah, I just think that, I mean, we were told not to idolize symbols and false prophets and everything else. And I think I mean, particularly in the Catholic religion, I mean,
Oh yeah,
they're kissing their cross and everything else. The hand movements across their head and their body. And I just think that you don't need any of that.
oh
All you
you're
need is your direct connect. We've got the direct connection with
yeah,
source.
yeah,
Now, whether we want to call the source God or the creator or whatever, to me, it's all the same entity,
yeah,
right? And whether you believe that is via Jesus or direct, or you believe in Jesus or not, that's up to the individual. But I mean, I personally do. And yeah, but to me, it's not so much religion. I think for me, it's more spiritual, that spiritual connection and consciousness. And that therefore, religion to me is something that keeps people together in a club I kind of picture it like, as an example, if I'm a supporter of a football club, a football team, I would wear their clothes, I'd wear their colors, I would sing their anthems, I'd be down the pub with them celebrating. And if there's a opposing team there, I would hate them with vengeance. And yeah, then the next team comes to play them, I'll hate them as well. But when they're playing as a country against them, like, oh, we're all best buddies again. So I kind of look at religion in a way that it is like that. We've created the divide for no other reason than to feel the safety in a club. Mm-hmm. And rather than going alone and sometimes feeling that, well, I don't need any of that. Whatever I feel is personal. And it's not neither right nor wrong. It's the way I do it. Right? You can't say, oh, I'm non-religious, or maybe I'm non-religious, but it doesn't mean I'm not less connected. I could be more connected, but I'm not doing it through religion.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm non-denominational. Although, having been a Catholic and then a Methodist, but now I'm neither, but still absolutely a Christian. Yeah. And I have some problems with the statues and saints of Mary, the statues of Mary and other saints that the Catholics kneel down to and pray to. And it's kind of interesting that if you look at the catechism, kind of the dogma, but it's called the Catechism of the Catholic Roman Catholic Church, they take the 10 Commandments that are in Exodus 20, and they divide them up differently, and they put let's see, honor your, covet. Yeah, it's covet. Don't covet your neighbor's wife, and then they separate it into a separate commandment, and to don't covet your neighbor's goods or what they possess. And they really play down the commandment to not have false idols in front of you. It's a very strong commandment that God really hates it when you pray to false idols, false gods. And so yeah, in my second book now, I've got a lot to say about the Catholics having statues and icons that they pray to and praying to saints.
Yeah. Which leads me to another question. Right?
Yeah.
Then how do you see the Pope?
So I asked my Catholic neighbors about that one time, and they said, well, he's a human and he's not infallible. He may walk across the street into traffic and get hit by a car, but because he's so close to God that his decisions about the religion are quote unquote infallible. Oh, I love that symbol. No, I don't. And I just think, well, if he's can make errors in one part of his life, why can't he make errors in other parts of his life? And so he's not infallible. He's probably a good man. But they over the years, the popes have changed what their edicts are. One of these days, they're going to allow priests to marry again. I can almost guarantee you that. And why they used to be able to marry, but then they stopped it. And so that, to me, rings of error when you change horses in the middle of the stream, so to speak. Mm-hmm. You didn't have it right one way or the other. Either you were right then and you're wrong now, or you're wrong then and you're right now. So you can't have it both ways. Mm-hmm. And so I hope that kind of sums up what I think about the Pope.
Yeah, I mean, there's when you talk about religion, I mean, you mentioned Judaism, Christianity, Islam in particular, but I mean, even if we looked at those in more detail, we could be here for weeks, and there's so much to learn and so much to try and understand. Now, whether it's for you or isn't for you, I mean, that's entirely your objective. I mean, it doesn't your pleasure if you want it or not. But I want to come back to, because I know we can digress and we can talk about all sorts of things, and there's many things in the Bible that I would like to also ask you. But I mean, as I say, we'll be here all night, so maybe we could do this another time. But particularly things that are quoted, and I just wanted your perspective on. But anyway, we'll leave that for another time. I just wanted to come on to, so your book. So what made you then put all of this together and write a book? And when did you do the first book? Because you mentioned the second book. So I want to understand when the first book was written and where we can find that. And now the second book, where are you with the second book, and what's the difference between the first and the second?
Okay, well, the first book, The Bible's Hidden Treasure, James, the Precious Pearl, it came out in 2020, sorry. And it took about 25 years of researching the Bible to come up with this. And why I wrote it? Well, one of the verses in James, actually it's near the very end, it says, if you correct someone in what they're doing wrong, you will save them from damnation, and you will have a lot of your own sins forgiven. And I'm a sinner, being an atheist for practical atheist for years. You could just about name it, and unfortunately, I probably did that sin. And
you didn't push the button in the nuclear power station, though.
I didn't do that. But anyway, so I wrote it to save others from the mistakes they've been making, like being in a snake handling cult or being a Mormon. Oh, God bless them, and to save myself. And so that's why I wrote it. And then this book, the first book, focused on James, but I wanted to focus on how James tied into the rest of the Bible, how it was consistent with so many things in the Bible, and make it a more comprehensive book. This is like an 80-page book. So it's short and sweet, just like James. It's a 5-page letter that's short and sweet and to the point. So I expanded it, and then as I kept working on this second book, I said, well, what about the Quran? There's a lot of people that they swear to Allah that everything in the Quran is perfect, and no, it's not. Just like not everything's perfect in the Bible, and it's not for a reason. God allows that to test us. And so I started researching the Quran, and as I went through, I went, well, here, this is consistent with James. This is inconsistent or contradicts it. And so it was really kind of an easy job to come up with a very comprehensive presentation on what's right and wrong in the Bible. And I've written my second book. It's finished, but I'm doing a final edit. It's written as a trial presentation where the defense would say, here's what's good about the Bible, and the prosecution would say, here's what's bad about the Bible. like you'd have in a trial, trying to convict a person of cheating or lying or stealing or murder. And so you got defense and prosecution. So it's a trial-like book, and it's going to be a whole lot longer. This one's 80. Yeah.
Have you got a name for this one?
Oh, the name for this book is One Lord. Let me see if I can find. Here we go.
You've got a cover already?
Yeah, I've designed the cover.
All right.
Can you see that?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah. One Lord, uniting Jews and Christians and Muslims. And the only reason I do that in that order is Jews were first, Christians were second, and then Muslims came along at about 600 years later after Christ was. And so it's a good read. It will be, I hope. Try to blend in some stories about it. One thing that I want to emphasize is when people criticize the Bible, they blame God for it not being perfect. Well, I'm not blaming God. I'm not putting God on trial. I'm putting the written words on trial. And people that jump up and down and say, oh, the Bible's perfect, the Quran's perfect, I just wonder, are they worshiping ink and paper instead of God? And that's a point I bring out, that, who do we worship? God or ink and paper?
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's good stuff in the Bible everywhere. And there's
for sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's always good in something. In everything, you'll always find something good. Equally, you'll find something bad. But it's up to you to not look at things that the glass is half full. I mean, the half empty, it's half full in an optimistic way. And also, don't dwell on the negatives, focus on the positives.
Oh, I may use that in my book now.
Yeah, exactly. So when do you see the second book coming out?
I'm guessing about 3 months from now. I'm gonna start. I'm having a website built. I'm not a web expert, and so once I get that built in the next few days, I'm going to start promoting it on LinkedIn. I don't know if you're familiar with LinkedIn. That's how we met. And so I can direct people to the website, and I have the introduction nailed down, and so that'll be something that I can send to anybody that wants to see the introduction. And it introduces the whole concept of how we can read our scriptures and follow those 4 things that are most important. Loving God, loving our neighbor, doing good, and resisting evil.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. I mean, I wish you great success. How's the success been on the first book?
I think maybe it sold 200 copies. Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe I just don't. Well, I did a vanity publishing, paid somebody to publish it, and they were supposed to advertise it, and I don't know how to promote a book. So I'm trying to learn.
Yeah, but because we're in that process at the moment. So just digressing a little bit, I have taken 7 previous guests on a kind of a road trip, should I say? I mean, about creating our own book, a collective book of our collective stories. And everybody, I mean, 8 different diverse people, so I'm included in that, all different stories, all from different parts of the world, all in a book. So it's like 5,000 words per person, right? So we're in the very final stages of now getting it published, right? I'm just putting the last bits together with the cover and everything else, but it should be out in the next month or so. So that's called actually The Essence of Being Human.
Oh.
8 life-changing journeys or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's great because I asked my guests if they would like to be in a book, and it's been painfully slow doing this first one. So it's definitely something we've learned about capturing that if we want to do a second book. But I am also writing my own book, which I've written, but I'm in the editing stage, and that is the painful bit. I like writing, but the editing I find very, very time consuming. I find that I repeat myself too much. I describe things that I've already described later on, when already people know, and I think, oh no, I'll have to remove that now. So I have an editor working with me, and she's picking all of these things out. She said, "You've already described that in great detail, and you've gone and done it again." I think, "Oh no," and stop repeating yourself. And I think, oh, okay, so that's why I wanted kind of professional help. So, are you editing yourself?
Well, I paid somebody to edit it, and got some great comments, and
Always do.
so, but now I'm going back through it, trying to make it shorter. It's like I think it's about 230,000 words, or it was, but trying to make it a whole lot shorter.
Wow.
So
Yeah, that's a lot because
people, yeah.
I've written mine and it was 150,000, and I thought that was a lot.
Yeah, 230,000 is way too much.
Because when you add up that, I mean, if you use a font size 12 and how many pages, and anything over like 500 pages becomes an epic.
Yeah, and nobody will read it anyway.
Oh, you never know. I mean, I think my book that I'm writing would be something special. But you're right about it, marketing it. So we need to all help one another.
Yeah.
If I can help market your previous book and the new one, then yeah. Actually, a lot of my guests have been authors. I've got a cupboard full here of their books that they've sent to me. Like they sign it, say like to James, like thanks for being a guest on your show, and then I have a signed copy of their book.
Oh, well, so I'll do that.
Yeah, please do. Likewise, I'll send you, if we ever get it finished, a copy of ours. But the writing experience, I mean, just digressing, is wonderful. I mean, it's wonderful, but it's traumatic. It's a nightmare. It's horrible. It's painful, but nevertheless, it's still wonderful because at the end of the day, you create something magical, and that's also part of your legacy.
Yeah. No, I hope so. I hope it is something that will live on.
Well, I'm definitely interested in reading it because I mean, I have so many questions on various religions, and I mean, I know we spoke offline before from my own personal experience being, I mean, having one member of the family that was one religion and another, and then us in the middle. But anyway, it definitely something, as you said, there's a lot of truth in there, and just take out the bits that resonate with you, and you can't go wrong.
Right.
So, John, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, it has, James. Right. Thank you.
No, you're more than welcome. So, if people want to get hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
I would say through LinkedIn, or they could email me direct. I think you have my email address. You could attach that to your.
Yes, I have your email, your website, and the link to the Amazon for the book.
Yeah. I would say the email is probably the best way to contact me.
Okay, and I'll also put your LinkedIn connection there. Okay. All right. And so once again, thank you for being a fantastic guest. And yeah, I hope it wasn't too painful because, I know to get to where we are I do take you on a bit of a journey, but I like that in the way it builds up a background of the person rather than going straight into something. At least it kind of identifies why you do what you do.
Okay. Well, thank you again. And you have a good evening. Or is it nighttime there?
Yeah, it's 22:50. So nearly bedtime.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks, John. Have a great rest of the day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Okay. Bye.
Wow, that was another featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact. If you'd like to be our next featured guest or learn how James Mofat can help you leverage on the art and power of interactive storytelling for your business, reach out and schedule a call now.